the story that is on everyone's lips and tits and, and kippers, the war between Israel and Iran. And of course, as we know, Israel didn't do nothing wrong ever, right? They are basically like the ghetto persons of the Middle East who never indeed didn't do nothing. Is a good boy. Why is everybody always picking on them, right? That's what I want to know, right? It's like that they never did anything wrong. First, we got a couple of memes. Finally, war with Iran. Oh, look, there's like, John McCain looking down and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And it's just so wholesome, bros. Finally, we get war with Iran after so many years. Will they? Won't they? It's just been terrible to watch, Who, of course, was incredibly impressed with this was Holden Bloodfeast, the Republican representative from Iowa, 118 years old. Please, God, just let us nuke Iran. Nothing else matters. I'll do anything, please. I just want to see burning flesh one last time before I die. Respectable, bipartisan. Of course, not many people know that Holden Bloodfeast is, of course, a massive Christian Zionist and therefore really wants to get Iran nuked so that the Third Temple will be rebuilt. So, of course, that Jesus will come back before he dies and he has to go to hell for his many sins. But I digress. So, not being discussed very much is how this kicked off. So, on June the 12th, which is like about 4 days ago, like this escalated so goddamn fast, right? Just a couple of bits for context. Iran announced about a week and a half ago that they had in fact stolen a buttload of Israel's nuclear secrets, and that they were going to like publish them, right? Now, I imagine the Israelis would not be too happy about this because, of course, they've always sort of like, do we have nuclear weapons? it's a mystery. Do we have them? Yes, they do. Allegedly, cannot confirm because 4chan. Allegedly, this is a Israeli printout of the Samson option, or Samson's Choice, which would make an excellent name for like a sitcom or something, right? The Samson option is basically, apparently, the Israeli sort of thing where they're like, if you don't protect us, we will destroy you, because it's, dealing with Israel is basically like being in the most toxic relationship you've ever been in. These are allegedly the places that will get nuked if Israel is ever on the edge of defeat. Everywhere in Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, but global deterrence attacks. Moscow, Kaliningrad, Sevastopol, Washington, D.C., New York, Los Angeles. These are 200 to 400 kiloton nukes, submarine launched nukes, by the way. Just a little bit of a spicy kind of thing. And of course, NORAD in Colorado, right? Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou. I'm sure the Chinese will be very happy about that. And of course, London, Brussels, Paris, and Berlin. Just for jolly. The sort of ironic thing about this is that were this to happen, it would probably incredibly improve all of those countries by sort of like wiping out all the governmental centers, right? I mean, look, it'd be a bit messy for a while, but come on, right? Now, obviously, I can't confirm, but like just, right? So just shortly, sort of literally days after this happened, right? This story that Iran had stolen all these Israeli secrets and exfiltrated them out of Israel basically dropped off the radar. And then on June the 12th, the IAEA declared that Iran was in breach of its non-proliferation obligations. Now, at the same time, there had been all of these sort of like negotiations going on between the Americans and the Iranians. When I say the Americans, I really mean the Israelis, right? Because fundamentally, I really don't think America is in danger of being hit by an Iranian nuke, right? I'm not seeing it, right? And it would have like such a huge like curve over the earth as well. They'd be able to like shoot it down. How many like Iranian nukes are they supposed to have? This is all about Israel, right? So the UN nuclear watchdog declared Iran in breach of its obligations under the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and then basically, right, all fucking hell broke loose. Now, this was quite one of those politicized things, right? So the board passed a resolution, which was submitted by the United States, Britain, France, and Germany, all countries, who are obviously close to the nation of Israel, and another 19 countries in favor, 11 abstentions, and of course being opposed by Russia, China, and Burkina Faso. Who owns Burkina Faso? Can anyone check who owns Burkina Faso at the UN? It's Africa, so probably the Chinese, I would guess. So, the text seen by Reuters declares Iran in breach of its obligations, given a damning report that the IAEA sent to member states on May 31st. The Board of Governors finds that Iran's many failures to uphold its obligations since 2019 to provide the agency with full and timely cooperation regarding undeclared nuclear material and activities at multiple undeclared locations in Iran constitutes non-compliance with its obligations under its safeguard agreement with the agency. Right, so basically the IAEA basically is saying, you're not letting us into your nuclear sites. Now, there have been persistent rumors that the IAEA and indeed many other weapons inspectors actually are spying on these locations, and that the information that they gather is either passed to or then leaks to parties like Israel, for example, right? So if you're a country, and indeed, Iran has basically said that they're considering withdrawing from the Non-Proliferation Treaty entirely, and then all of a sudden, it just kicks off. They just started missiling the shit out of each other, right? Israel started first, struck a strong blow, dropped a bunch of missiles. The Iranian air defenses seemed to be down. Now, I've got some rumors on this. Cannot confirm. Obviously, fog of war, and I got this off 4chan, so double fog of war. But on the grapevine, okay, so it is absolutely true that in about the first 24 hours of this, it seems that Iranian air defense was not working. It was knocked out, right? Allegedly by an Israeli cyber attack. Again, I'm just, right? And then allegedly, not allegedly, then about 24 hours later, all of Iran's air defenses suddenly came back online. By this point, the Israelis had started flying jets over the western part of Iran, flying through Iraq, and it is alleged that the Israelis, in fact, suffered a couple of downed jets, and that one pilot has been taken prisoner. Again, right? Fog of war, can't confirm. Now, allegedly, there was a super hacker called Solo, yeah, I know, right? Who helped the Iranians dig out the Israeli malware, and that was what caused all the air defenses to go back online. And allegedly, this Solo now has a $10 million bounty on his head. Again, Reddit on 4chan, just hey, cool story, bro, right? It is a cool story, right? So the Iranians, the Israelis hit Iran. Started just blowing this shit out of stuff, hitting sort of mainly sort of nuclear sites, and just all kinds of stuff like bases and blah 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 blah. I hate it when news organizations, they do this and they keep updating the article. I don't want to know what's happening today. I want to know what was happening on Friday. Oh yeah, Netanyahu's Trump, you got to join the war. You got to join the war on our behalf. Didn't you know that it was Iran that tried to assassinate you? To which, if I'd been in the room, I'd be like, how do you know that? So yes, there was nuclear negotiations. They've now been basically called off. Surprise, surprise, because Israel jumped the gun. Now, does Iran have a nuclear weapon? Well, Netanyahu says obviously they do, right? Because literally for 30 fucking years, look at this shit, right? Does anyone else remember this? Is anyone else old enough to remember this? This is from 2012. Right? So 15 years ago, but actually this goes back to even the 90s. But I remember this distinctly because this was sort of the period of people standing up in front of the UN with dinky props, right? So Netanyahu did it with this thing, and then Colin Powell, when he was trying to shill for the war in Iraq, got up with a little jar with white powder, and it was this is anthrax, right? And this would be enough to kill 1 million people, and Iraq hasn't. So we have to, spread democracy and peace and and freedom, because that just works so fucking well, bros, right? Netanyahu, he got up in front of the UN, he had this like little paper thing, he drew like a little red line up the top, and he's like, Iran is like this close. This close. Yes, Sadies, yes, this is real. This is a real thing. This is from CNN, right? This is a real thing. Netanyahu's been around for a long time, right? Why don't we ask Tulsi Gabbard whether Iran has a nuclear weapon? This is from the 25th of March, so about, I don't know, 2-3 months ago. Let's see what she has to say, bros.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
So Tulsi Gabbard's like, no. Well, you know, we don't have any intelligence. And the Mossad is like, oh, but we have so much intelligence. We have all the intelligence. Iran is definitely developing a nuclear weapon. Now, look, if I was part of the intelligence community, I would just be like, yeah, I wouldn't trust anything Mossad has to say. I'd just be like, did you hear that? Like, did you hear that from Mossad? Right? So anyway, some missile footage. This is from the opening strikes on Iran. Oh, that's kind of boring. I thought there'd be some like actual missile strikes. No, just pictures. Okay, right. I think this is more the kind of stuff we're looking for. So, these are strikes hitting Tehran. Just to step out a little bit, right? So, the stated objectives of the Israelis is to destroy Iran's nuclear program, which they can't do, by the way, because all of their nuclear shit is basically buried under mountains, and the Israelis don't have the weapons to penetrate that far, and even if the US gave them the weapons, the Israelis don't have the planes to carry bombs that big, right? So the Israelis really, really need the Americans to get involved, right? And they're like, oh, you know, you got your guts to get involved, right? And Trump is, you know, wisely cautious of this, obviously, right? He was elected on a platform of peace. But the real goal, obviously, from Israel's point of view, is regime change in Iran, which is something that they wanted for ages. They want to reinstall the son of the deposed Shah of Iran. I think it was the West who had a hand in deposing him, actually, to be perfectly honest. Just goes to show you, you know, right? Like, you know, they force you to change your clothes, and then, like, you know, 20, 30 years later, they're like, nah, you know, actually, you know, I know I forced you to wear that, but I don't like it, right? And we're gonna change it back now. So they basically, the Israelis, at the same time as they launched the missiles, they did a bunch of assassinations, right? They got a lot of the Iranian military high command in the Revolutionary Guard forces, right? Like, you know, took out like the entire top echelon, but they did not get Ayatollah Khamenei, which is going to be a problem if they want to replace the leader. Khamenei, of course, the Ayatollah, he's in there for life, right? None of that like stupid democracy bullshit where they change leaders every like 4 years, right? Khamenei has been there for like a long time. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Gesundheit.
First, Caitlin, something I just heard from a senior Israeli official who says that according to Israeli assessments, there are very high chances that the entire Iranian general staff, including the head of the Iranian general staff of the Iranian military, and several senior Iranian nuclear scientists were all eliminated in the Israeli strikes tonight. I hear that again from a senior Israeli official who says that several senior top Iranian military commanders, including the head of the general staff of the Iranian military and senior nuclear.
Right. Yep. Sorry. Wait. Hang on. Did that replay? Oh my god. I'm not lost my stream.
Scientists
Whoa.
have all been targeted in those strikes, and according to IDF assessments, there's a high chance that they've been eliminated.
Now, this is absolutely true, or at least the Iranians are saying that it's true. But there is also, as well, the possibility that the Iranians would say, oh, yes, you totally killed this guy. So that the Israelis will stop trying to chase them, right? There's no way to know. It's a fog of war, right? But the Iranians indeed did announce that a number of their top generals had been killed, along with some of their top nuclear scientists. There was also a story that the head of the Quds Force, which is like a sort of, I think like special forces thing inside the Revolutionary Guard, was in fact an Israeli spy and had defected. I don't know whether that's true. If he did defect, then presumably he'd been found out, I guess would be my sort of, my guess. I don't know. Fog of war, right? I'm just, now, Netanyahu, of course, was like, we have launched Operation Kvetching Lion. No, wait, no. We have launched Operation Kvetching Lion. He's gonna kvetch all over you, boys.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
It could be a year, it could be a few days, it could be like right now. By the way, right, I should note that the Russians were involved with this negotiation that was going on between the US and Iran, right? And the Russians had basically said, well, look, if the Iranians having the enriched uranium is such a problem, right? Why don't we, the Russians, right, just store the enriched uranium for them, right? We'll secure it, right? We'll audit it. And then when they need it for like their domestic nuclear program, we'll like ship it back to them like across the border. And then Israel won't have any problems and no. And as soon as the Russians like offered this option, right? The Israelis like called off the negotiations basically and started like missile bombing the shit out of them, right? So again, clearly this is what's called a transitional demand. It is not designed to be resolved, right? So you just keep pushing for the thing, and every single time someone like offers a solution, you're like, no, that won't work, because the desire is for war. It's pretty rich coming from Netanyahu, given that Israel has nuclear weapons, has never signed the non-proliferation treaty, which is what they're using to bash Iran with. Operation Kvetching Lion is a go, bros. It's a go. So these are the strikes that hit Iran. A lot of these are sort of nuclear-related sites. Natanz, Fordo is supposedly where they store their uranium. Arak supposedly is where they make their heavy water. And a bunch of like other places. I don't really know. But these are the places that have been struck. And then, wait, is this more of the ones that, right. So then, as I was saying, about 24 hours after, Iran's air defenses suddenly reactivated, right? Now, people are speculating what happened, right? One possibility is that they had a shitload of decoys put out, right? So the Israelis thought that they had destroyed all of Iran's air defenses, kinetically and like cyber warfare, but a lot of them were just basically like decoys. Because all of a sudden, right, Iran has air defense again. You can't really see much on this video, but yes, that is basically the sound of air defense missiles. Now, a little bit of geopolitics for you here, right? This, of course, is the Middle East, the place what there is all that trouble over. Now, sort of savvy viewers will notice that Iran and Israel do not actually share a border. But savvier viewers will notice that the two countries between, or sort of three countries between Israel and Iran, that is Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq, have all been sort of like recently, how can I put this delicately, blessed with the fruits of democracy. Right. So, so they're not, look, no one's going to be invading anyone, right? Unless, of course, they get the Americans involved, right? They'd need the Americans to actually invade, or they could do a sort of like, shock and awe kind of like thing like they did with Iraq. But the thing is, if they did that, it probably wouldn't go down too well, right? So just, Iran borders Pakistan. In the south, the Pakistanis have basically said that they would be very, very, very annoyed if the Israelis like nuke them. Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, all of the stands. Afghanistan, of course, borders Iran from the east. So if shit kicked off, you'd probably have a bunch of like mujahideen from Afghanistan coming in to like, oh my God, it'd be such a mess. Oh, dude. I mean, just my God, right? Can you imagine, right? It's really close to Russia as well, right? Not many people are aware of this, okay? But there's only Georgia and Armenia between the south of Russia next to the Black Sea, and the northwestern tip of Iran. Iran is a very, very central country, right? This feeds into the whole greater Israel thing, of course, where, the Israelis basically want to sort of control this entire area, as well as the Black Sea, because it would allow them to sort of bisect and straddle the entirety of the Silk Road and control much of the world's trade, which, of course, is a conspiracy theory, and you shouldn't listen to any of that kind of like stuff. So then the Iranians struck back, bros. Amazingly, the Israelis were all very, very cocky. They're like, we've had a decapitation strike. Prepare the regime change. Prepare the color revolution. It'll be over in days, boys, right? White smoke indicating a new Jeffrey Epstein has been chosen. Oh, mate, I can't believe how fucking awesome that tweet is. So the Iranians started firing on Tel Aviv in great numbers, right? Like they were really just like, it looks like basically what they're doing is they're sending sort of waves of drones, smaller missiles, dummy missiles, right? Over to saturate the Israeli missile defenses, and not just the Israelis, by the way, right? There's a whole buttload of ships parked in all of the waterways around Israel. So there's some parked at the head of the Red Sea, there's some parked in the Persian Gulf, and there's some parked in the Eastern Mediterranean that are all sort of doing missile defense for Israel. But it's not enough, bros. It is not enough. And then on following those huge sort of wave of drones and missiles, they send ICBMs and hypersonics that, generally speaking, seem to be getting through. So yes, that's Tel Aviv being hit. Right now, again, I don't think the Israelis were expecting this. Oh my God. And check out some of these. These are just insane. Look at the shockwave on that thing. You can even see it in the actual thing. Yeah, look at that. My God, look at that shockwave. Right? That's clearly a huge ICBM. That's downtown Tel Aviv. I think this is also Tel Aviv. Yep. These are allegedly hypersonic missile impacts. Ya Allah. Ya Allah. So, yeah. Now, Israel, generally speaking, has a very, very large network of civilian shelters. So there have not been many deaths, even from like the missile strikes. There's been quite a bit of property damage, but no deaths because they're all hunkered down inside the bomb shelters. Even so, right, this has got to be demoralizing to watch. Fucking look how fast that thing's coming in, man. Holy crap. Just like bolt from the blue, mate. What else have we got here? Yeah, so this is the aftermath of, I think, that first missile strike in Tel Aviv.
הסכנה הכי גדולה כרגע, מעבר למה שנקרא כרגע, זה אלפי אנשים שהגיעו לכאן סקרנים וסקרניות. יש כאן עוד סכנות בתוך הזה.
Oh, wow, man. Tel Aviv's starting to look like Gaza. Fucking. And this is the thing, right? Global sympathy is not on the side of the Israelis in this one. After what they have done to Gaza, I don't have it on me, but recent opinion polls suggest that all across even the Western world, traditionally big friends of Israel, they are outnumbered 2-1 by people who have a negative opinion. Indeed, the only people who seem to have a very positive opinion in these Western countries seems to be like 3 to 5%, which is probably the Jewish populations themselves. Everyone is like sort of mildly supportive, and most other people are overwhelmingly negative at this point. Now, of course, as I said, the aim is regime change, right? Regime change is the game, bros. So Netanyahu went on TV to speak to the Iranian people, bros, right? Now, in the West, of course, we are fed a steady diet of, how the Iranians, would love to overthrow their government and, and reinstall the Shah. And I'm sure that is true, for some of them. The question probably is, do they want that to happen as a result of sort of like mass population movements and getting the crap bombed out of them by the Israelis? I don't know. On the other hand, right, it's not like the Revolutionary Council can be removed through democratic selection. So anyway, this is Netanyahu speaking to his brothers, the Iranian people, bro. Because if there's one thing about Netanyahu, right, he loves all the people of the world, right? Equally. He just,
Tonight I wish to speak to you, the proud people of Iran. We're in the midst of one of the greatest military operations in history, Operation Rising Lion. The Islamic regime, which has oppressed you for nearly 50 years, threatens to destroy my country, the State of Israel. The objective of Israel's military operation is to remove this threat, both the nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat to Israel. And as we achieve our objectives, we're also clearing the path for you to achieve your objective, which is freedom. In the past 24 hours, we've taken out top military commanders, senior nuclear scientists, the Islamic regime's most significant enrichment facility, and a large portion of its ballistic missile arsenal. More is on the way. The regime doesn't know what hit them. They don't know what will hit them. The nation of Iran and the nation of Israel have been true friends since the days of Cyrus the Great.
Robert Valinda, oh my God, so many people get this shit totally wrong. That regime is nowhere near as unpopular as they want you to think. Yeah, this is what I keep hearing as well. And I suspect if you ask like the average sort of man on the street, whether they would want their government violently overthrown. And let's not forget what happened to Syria just literally next door, right? Where like a bunch of violent jihadis overthrew the government and then killed all the goddamn Christians, right? I suspect a lot of them would be like, Nah, not like this, bro. Of course, only old fags will remember this, right? This is from the same playbook that they used in Iraq, right? Famously, both Bush and Blair, after destroying Baghdad, went on TV and was like, "My fellow Iraqis, we are your friends. Even though we targeted you with ballistic missiles, we're doing it for you. We're not doing it for Israel." Check it out.
States. At this moment, this is George W. Bush, the President of the United States. At this moment, the regime of Saddam Hussein is being removed from power, and a long era of fear and cruelty is ending. American and coalition forces are now operating inside Baghdad, and we will not stop until Saddam's corrupt gang is gone. The government of Iraq and the future of your country will soon belong to you. The goals of our coalition.
The future of your country will soon belong to you. Yeah, how's that working out for the Iraqis? Oh yes, the future of your country will soon belong to you. No, it fucking didn't. The Americans owned Iraq like a bitch. I mean, I don't have they even it was like 20 years, right? America like ruled Iraq. Oh god, fucking oh my god. I remember like watching this back in the day and just being like, oh my god, right? Like the guy like just lies, like, oh dude.
Coalition are clear and limited. We will end a brutal regime whose aggression and weapons of mass destruction make it a unique threat to the world. Coalition forces will help maintain law and order so that Iraqis can live in security. We will respect your great religious traditions, whose principles of equality and compassion are essential to Iraq's future. We will help you build a peaceful and representative government that protects the rights of all citizens. And then our military forces will leave.
Oh yeah, bros. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, of course, right? Look how that turned out. Where's the bit with fucking like wait, Blair comes on as well, right? Oh my god, this sleazy motherfucker, right? Always remember when you look at Blair, right? This kind of like shit.
I'm glad to be able to speak to you today to tell you that Saddam Hussein's regime is collapsing, that the years of brutality, oppression, and fear are coming to an end.
Now is the time for the years of even more brutality and repression and civil war and destabilization. Are you looking forward to it, my Iraqi?
That a new and better future beckons for the people of Iraq. We did not want this war, but in refusing to give up his weapons of mass destruction, Saddam gave us no choice but to act. Now that the war has begun, it will be seen through to the end. We will continue to do all we can to avoid civilian casualties. Our enemy is Saddam and his regime, not the Iraqi people.
So, look, as you can see, this is literally exactly the same playbook, right? We were forced to act because Saddam was developing, nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons. Just shut up. Like, don't think about it, right? The Israelis are basically pulling exactly the same playbook, except, of course, with Trump in power, this is a little harder. This is the guy that the Israelis are trying to replace Khamenei with. This is Reza Pahlavi, who is the one of the sons of the deposed Shah of Iran. I think someone was saying in the chat, wasn't it the Americans that overthrew the Shah and installed Mossadegh? I'm pretty sure it was the Americans who got rid of him. So yes, this is the anointed guy, right? This dude first came on my radar a couple of months back. He came back and I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. This guy's doing the rounds of me. I wonder who's paying for him. Well, now we know, don't we, bros?
Well, yeah, the first thing I need to say here is that my heart goes out to the civilian victims, both in Iran and in Israel, who are unfortunately casualties of this conflict. But one thing is very clear, and I mentioned that last time we spoke, that this is not the Iranian people's war. It is Ali Khamenei's war, and he's solely and ultimately responsible for having brought this to this stage. What angers me further is that he's using my compatriots as a human shield while he is currently hiding in some underground tunnel like a rat. And we have had reports that senior members and officials have already had their families fleeing the country to foreign destinations.
Yeah, man. Why doesn't Khamenei, right, like come out into like Iran's main square, right, and do like a big presentation to everyone, like out in the open? How dare he hide in a bomb shelter after his entire upper military echelon got assassinated? What a cowardly thing to do. What a cowardly thing to do. Yes, the fact that they did not get Khamenei early in the piece does seem to have been a bit of a boo-boo. Now, there's this kind of stuff that's going around on Twitter, basically saying that, you know, there's like a bunch of people, you know, who want like death to Khamenei. This could just be completely fake, or, you know, maybe, I don't know. Iran is quite a diverse country. It's got like a lot of different people. I think I've got a map here. Yeah, right. So the actual Persians are sort of in the center, in the mountainous region. In the southeast, you have the Baluchis, Baluchistan. The Baluchis have been fighting like a separatist thing against Pakistan for a while, supported by the West. You have the Kurds on the border with Turkmenistan and with the borders of Iraq. The Kurds on the border of Iraq, of course, have been sponsored by the West and also quite uprisey. You have the Azeris in the north, the Luros, I've got no idea who those are, the Kashgars, and, you know, assorted Arabs and stuff like that. So I've got no idea where this was filmed. So that's some people basically being like, death to Khamenei, supposedly demonstrating the great will that the Iranians have to overthrow, have the Israelis overthrow their government. Israel is apparently planning on direct attacks on civilian infrastructure to cause widespread population movement and displacement, a strategy that was used in another country called Dahiya, the Dahiya doctrine. It was used in Lebanon, in Beirut. So you destroy a bunch of civilian infrastructure, you cause mass population movements, and then that destabilizes the government. Pretty sure this is against the laws of war, but I mean, look, it's Israel, right? Like, they don't care about any of that kind of like stuff. Obviously, they are exempt, being the chosen people, such that they are. Oh yes, right. No, so this is the thing. Netanyahu's like, oh yeah, it was actually Iran who was behind those 2 assassination attempts against you. The presenter's like, do you have any evidence? And he's like, yeah, and then just like moves on. He doesn't like cite any evidence at all. I don't know. I mean, I trust him, bros, right? It's not like he looks shifty or anything.
These people who chant death to America, try to assassinate President Trump twice, killed 241 of your Marines in Beirut, killed and injured thousands of American soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, try to bomb a restaurant in Washington, D.C., chant death to America, burn the American flag. Do you want these people to have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to your cities? Of course not.
Yeah.
So we're defending ourselves, but we're also defending the world.
I want to talk about the nuclear threat. I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with him in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means a pathway to.
Yeah, so notice how he like just avoided that question, right? Like, do you have intelligence, like actual proof? Oh yeah. Can we see it? Oh, well, no, right? So this has just kept going on. This is from today. Now, I just want to point something out here, by the way. The way the economics of this works is that Iran has been basically building ballistic missiles for probably 25 years, basically, right? They have known this day was coming, right? I mean, everybody in the West knew that it was coming, right? You know, the John McCain and all the neocons are always like, you know, look, we got to attack Iran. So they have ungodly stockpiles of missiles. They've been like working on it. They make them themselves, by the way, right? People on Twitter have been trying to say, oh, you get your stuff from China. No, they don't. The Iranians make them themselves, right? Their missiles, their missile technology is quite advanced and getting more advanced. Now, for every missile that they fire, it might take 3 or possibly 4 interceptors to take that missile down, right? The way it works is that there are layers, right? The outermost layer is called the THAAD, which is an American thing, which is the terminal high altitude something defense, right? Where it like intercepts the missiles like literally sort of in space, and then they've got like David's sling and David's arrow, which are like the longer ones, and then like the actual Iron Dome, which is actually really just designed to prevent like Gaza bottle rockets. Okay, right? And every single time they intercept one of these things, they are firing like say 3 or 4, sometimes up to 12 rounds, depending on the kind of missiles, right? How many interceptors they have left is going to be a serious concern, right? Interceptors are not infinite, and you know how many more they have. Even if America gives all of their interceptors, all their Patriot interceptors, and all their THAAD interceptors to Israel, there is still a finite number, and a lot of these missiles are quite cheap. So the drones, as I was saying before, what they tend to do is just saturate the sky and then drop like a a hypersonic, like, and just that just goes like blazing through. As well, a lot of decoys too. So you might launch, I don't know, 10 missiles. 5 of them might be decoys. You can't tell which ones are the decoys or not. For every single one, you've got to fire like 3 or 4 or 5 interceptors, and you're just going to start running out of interceptors. This is like what you call basically saturation bombardment. And yes, as people in the chat are pointing out, those Patriot interceptors are fucking expensive. Like they're millions each. Don't worry, I'm sure the Americans can afford it, right, America, bro? you're like just happy for like tons of money to be going towards this, right? Right?
Wow, ببته زيكو.
Yeah, that's actually a power plant getting hit in Gezer, not Giza. And there's another one that got hit as well in Haifa, I think, that in total has taken out about 18.5% of Israel's domestic power production, right? That is a big oof, right? This was like in a matter of hours this happened. However, just today, oh God, it's been going for an hour already. Latest news, the Iranian State TV Center got struck whilst live on air.
قرار دادن وسیله نقلیه همچنین موضوعات مختلف. خیلی متشکر از اینکه با ما همراه هستید. آنچه که ملاحظه می‌کنید تجاوز رژیم صهیونیستی به خاک جمهوری اسلامی ایران و منطقه صدا و سیماست. آنچه که ملاحظه کردید تجاوز آشکار رژیم صهیونیستی به صدا و سیمای جمهوری اسلامی ایران است. معاونت سیاسی صدا و سیمای جمهوری اسلامی ایران هدف حمله متجاوز قرار گرفت. الله اکبر، الله اکبر، الله اکبر. مردم شریف ایران آگاه باشید. آنچه که دیدید، صدایی که شنیدید، صدای متجاوز به خاک وطن، صدای متجاوز به صدای حق و حقیقت است. آنچه که ملاحظه کردید، صدایی که شنیدید، فضای غبارآلود استادیوم
What they really needed was one of those like cheesy like interruption screens. They're like, "We'll be right back." Dun, 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 dun. This is the this is what the Iranian TV center looked like afterwards. Totally gutted. And what's this? Oh yeah, and also, of course, one of the other problems with firing so many interceptor rounds, especially if you're using old ones, is that some of them might misfire and accidentally hit civilian populations underneath, as what happened with this one. Whoopsie. Friendly fire, bros. And finally, it's been announced that there are like 24 refueling aircraft flying from the US towards either Europe or the Middle East. Allegedly, this is for a Finnish training exercise. I'm skeptical.